I'll wait for some folks to show up. All right, and then we will. Just easier than doing another podcast on Zoom and having to upload it and everything. So, second podcast. We have some folks. And hello, guys. All Rocky Mountain Skywatcher. We'll wait for some folks to come on. I'm actually on time, which is, well, it's just me on YouTube, so it's easy. So, it's so small on YouTube. I have for these stupid, I can't see these glasses. Oh, Edwin. Oh, Grandja. Hello. Hello. A new face we have on here. Some other folks. Oh, I know who you are. The first one there. I wanted to bring you on. Oh, you have Kat. Hi. Yeah, I wanted to bring a guest on tonight, but Val said no. So, okay. So, for those folks who are just joining us, this is something that I was talking to Val this morning about, that I bet there's a lot of folks out there who are kind of wondering what's going on and why nothing's going on, or the same stuff is going on. And I think you already know. I mean, what it could be. It doesn't feel right, does it? So there's a lot of happy camper going on. Everybody's like, why is everybody so like happy? And all these wonderful things are happening and nothing wonderful is happening. And we're talking years, right? And it's just the same old, the same condescending, patronizing, like throwing biscuits to a dog or, chasing a Frisbee. And, you kind of feel like an animal in a zoo or something like that. But then you figure, well, I'm not going to say anything because, I don't want to be the bad guy or whatever. And I was telepathing with Val about this, and telepathy is so strange. It's like kind of like playing tennis, and he's listening because you kind of fast forward all that information, and he didn't really. He's like, I don't care. We don't care. We don't care. I'm like, okay, we don't care. We don't care. Yeah, and well, it was a wild morning because Val was talking, and then Eco wanted to come in, and I had to be clearer because we had kind of a, let me say, I didn't talk to him all week. I didn't talk to Eco all week. And I had a real problem with what he was telling me. Oh, awesome. Who's this one? A surprise. Yeah, it's a surprise. Rose quartz moon. It's a surprise one. It's a surprise. Right. Yeah. I didn't expect that this morning, and I didn't expect to have to do this tonight because 2 podcasts in a day is, but you got to do what you got to do. So, yeah. So I didn't talk to Eka all week. And just till this morning, actually. And I'm like, why did you, I mean, I didn't say he lied because he's just relaying information, but the whole thing was a setup. None of that was real. Like none of this stuff is real. It's all play acting. All these flyovers, all these orbs, all these things. That's all set up. It's all part of the lie. And they're really exploiting people's good nature to maintain a lie that's crumbling, for sure. And I know for many folks, maybe it's going to be impossible for them to see reality. They're going to want to keep drinking the Kool-Aid and, and buying the falsehoods that are being delivered. But that's okay. That's cool. And some people can't control that because they're actually being used as tools by these people. And what I mean by these people, so I don't know exactly who's involved, but it's an alliance between. So there's representatives. So for the Earth side, there's representatives that have stepped forward. This is what I'm remote viewing, and what I've kind of ran by Val. There's like representatives that step forward for corporations, politicians, the military, and they negotiate with. Oh, nice, Vincent. Oh my God, he wants to see what he was saying. The YouTube chat is so small, I can't see crap of that. So, is this okay? Yes, Vincent. That was a psyop. Yeah, and we were all victims of it, including Ika. So his back was against the wall. So, and this is part of what they're actually doing, and why I was pretty pissed off last week. This week, actually, not last week. It's still this week. Every day is the same on a farm. Let's see. Hello, it's great to talk to you. Oh yeah, Jane. Awesome, cool beans. Yeah, Jane knows what's already going on. We talked today, so some of you already know too. I talked to you during the week. Yeah. So, well, Ika explained himself in that video I posted today. So it's not his fault. There wasn't anything he could do. He had to play the game. But I knew it was a game. And I asked him, I said, are you sure? This doesn't feel right. And I know a lot of you saying, but I'm just, that didn't feel right. So I keep saying, like, I believe it when I see it. It didn't feel right. And he's like, no, yeah. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And it was fake. So, and it was like, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not, you don't have to apologize for something that you had no choice you couldn't get out of it, and there's nothing you could do. And it's just unfortunate. And it's this is the case that's happening to a lot of your contacts upstairs, where they're basically bullied and they're threatened. And that's kind of what they're doing. So a lot of folks might be still getting attacked, and you're like, why am I still getting attacked? If everything's all happy camper and we're moving forward, why am I still getting attacked? Well, because they're allowing it. And here's how they're allowing it. So right now, for envoys that are the danger envoys, not all envoys are part of the danger group, but if you are. If you're being attacked, you're a danger envoy. And these attacks are coming from the military. That's always the military, industrial, that's the contractors and all that stuff. And how these negotiations are kind of occurring, I'm not sure they're case by case so much as sort of like a blanket type thing, that a control structure. So we're the ones that are cracking this. And how they're doing it is, so the benevolent ETs can't attack you, right? So they use the military complex to do it. So essentially what happens is they've already been in negotiations about where they want to go with this, with disclosure. And I always say disclosure itself is a carefully orchestrated psyop. Disclosure was created by this alliance. Now, that's not saying everyone who talks about disclosure, including us, right? There is the term disclosure that we use, but the official narrative of disclosure is a controlled theatrical show by this group. So when you see these flyovers, whatever, that's all orchestrated, like throwing, biscuits to a dog, and a lot of people are falling for it. And I understand, I get it, right? We all want to have a better life. So in order to shut us up, because we see through, we're like, wait a minute, something ain't right. And they know when you're, because they all have us tracked, and they know when, the little beacons go off, beep, 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 So then they hit you. And what we were told by some of our good contacts is that, oh yeah, we're working on it. Yep. And they're not allowed to. And they have to be careful, because they know this alliance, and its councils, some high-ranking GFW, and also, of course, the Earth military political group, corporations, all that stuff. So they monitor the ETs that are working for them, and they know who obviously their envoy is, or envoys. And what they do is sort of almost a hostage situation. So Whenever the ET that's working up there or down here for these groups tries to, because they know this is baloney. They know it's lies. They know we've been betrayed and they've been betrayed. When they try to bring this up, the envoy gets hit. So it's a mafia, basically. So when the benevolent ET, your contact, tries to say, we need to go back to the original plan. What's going on here, guys? This is not okay. I'm not happy. We need to voice our opinions. They hit the envoy. And it's almost that's not almost, it is. It's a trauma bond. So they make sure your contact sees what happened to you. And there's nothing they can do to stop it from happening. So we have some questions from folks. Make sure that. Oh yeah, because we have genius, dude. Not many. Yeah. It was exactly. Shit, carrot. Yeah. Right. Bluetooth or yeah. So anyway, yeah. And today I asked Ika. I said, are you, will you be ready and able to die next to me? And he is. So this is going to be, if it is a fight to the death, it will be a fight to the death. And I'm actually, I mean, it's curious. And I asked that, like, why? Because I've asked them before to kill me. I'm like, come on, do it. I'll stand in the middle of the field. I'm like, come on, do your thing. And I don't know why so now I know why they don't kill some of us. They do kill some of us, but they don't kill all of us. It's because we're worth more for this manipulation alive. So they can't manipulate your ET contact with you dead. So they keep you alive to play this game. And yeah, it's the typical old story, and I don't think, and it never made sense to me that the uber elites, the Illuminati, whatever you're gonna call them, the Matrix, the Cabal, the whatever, right? The corporate. I mean, if you take a look at Earth, this is not the entire planet, but pretty much maybe 90% of this planet is so deeply ensnared, enchained, and tied down by all corporations, right? Everything you touch is a corporation. What I'm doing now is a corporation. The internet is a corporation. My computer is a corporation. Locking us into this technology, all by corporations. Everything we do is controlled. Literally, you have licenses, taxes, everything you do, you are, I call it like Clockwork Orange meets the Hunger Games. That's what you're living. So none of these things are benevolent, and they all feed off of us being miserable, us running around like idiots, us trying to survive, us scraping, us feeling bad, all the mental illness, all the behavioral problem, they want the alcoholism, the addiction, all of this, the bizarre, twisted, perverted relationships people's have, all these kinds of things, the shallowness, the fear, of course. That's how they survive. So there is nothing in the military, political, corporation structure put there for us. Nothing. It's all illusion. You know that. I'm telling you, I'm just trying to give this is what's going on. So do you really think that this massively powerful thing that owns our planet, the corporations, really, because everything's part of a corporation, do you really think that all of a sudden now they're going to go upstairs, meet with a couple of extraterrestrials and be like, oh, we're so sorry. No. Take down everything, because that's what's going to happen, right? Everything you know right now, everything you touch, your electricity, your car, the fossil fuel industry, big pharma, chemical industry, the military, politics, you don't need them anymore. All of these little mini town Nazi scoundrels that run every city and state and whatever in the United States anyway. And in England, it's even worse. They're crazy in England right now. They're like, it's gone like Eastern Germany. Do you really think all of a sudden these evil, monsters are going to be like, oh yeah, no. You guys, let's all play kumbaya and fix all this stuff. No. And that's where we stand. We were sold out. We were betrayed. So there's some folks here. I've asked for someone to kill me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They won't. Well, they won't. So Vincent, because you know why. You're a tool. You know what they want you to do? They want you to kill yourself. And yeah. So I'll tell you, this week was, so those people who've been, I had a really, really bad week. It happened after I filed the charges. I think it was Tuesday. I don't even remember what. I think maybe. Wait, I don't even know. All the days are the same to me. It was one day this week. I filed the charges, and half an hour later, I was hit with a sedative. Like it was like I was drunk. I had no very little proprioception. Like just like it took all my strength just to get up out of a chair, like moving my just like. And I knew I'm like, this is what is, and it's not a physical, you just know, you're like, okay, this is the frequency thing. And the friend I was talking to texting, I'm like, yeah, I just did that. Now I'm like, here it is. I'm getting sedated. And I don't know if it happened to her that night or soon after. She also was hit. And yeah, and I told him, I said, you're gonna have to do a hell of a lot more than that. So I thought, bring it on, right? So I went outside. I'm like, bring it on, and they didn't. But that wow, I mean, it was just like complete desperation. Like, I mean, hopelessness is just like, I can't, like, I knew, I know you guys know, right? I knew last year, I'm like, something ain't right. And I don't know if y'all been walking around with that, something ain't right, right? Yeah. It's not all, and everybody's like, oh, yay, they had a flyover. We saw the military ship. Oh, yippee. All the wonderful things are happening. All the politicians are loving us. Like all these people that are running around. And you're just like, okay, yeah, right. Maybe they're right. But you're like inside, like, I know, I don't feel right. I don't feel right, because you're right. So it's, oh, Tiger Star. Hi, Tiger. You can play it back. You know the story. We've been talking about it anyway. So here we are. I have the charges. They're long, so I wouldn't tonight. We don't have time for that. I just want to talk about the post stuff. Rocky, yeah. Bullshit meter has been ping. Yep. Right. I mean, and it's like you don't want to say anything because you're like you don't want to be the ass. And I told Val today. I'm like, Val. I mean, nobody wants to say anything because no one wants to come. We see that's the thing. The disclosure community has largely been psyoped for the obvious reasons to keep and maintain the lie. And not everybody is doing, I mean, I don't know how many people, I've never looked into it. I don't watch any of that really. And I don't know how many people in the community are, compromised or just trying to play the narrative. So what they can do some amazing stuff. I mean, you can think you're up on a ship and you're not, you're up on their ship and they make it look benevolent and it's not benevolent. There's some nasty Pleiadians that are actually a hell that are part of the GFW that are on the bad guy side. There's a lot of, benevolent people, that's the problem. Everybody's been kind of categorizing, oh, these are the bad guys, these are the good guys. Are they Draco? No. No. Are they the Greys? No, they're not the Greys, not Draco. They're the good guys. Because there's cowards everywhere. And it's easier to sell out a planet of already brainwashed, unaware people. There's billions of people on this planet completely unaware. They have no idea what's going on. And that's kept that way on purpose. So there's only us. We're the danger, right? It was simple. Just go along with the corporations, business as usual. You got rid of all the bad ETs. So now just let it smooth sailing. They've breached contracts with us, all of us. If you're an envoy on Earth right now, your contract was breached. It was handled with unclean hands. They figured, what are we going to do? You got a bunch of assholes here. What are they going to do? And people might ask, well, why don't they send, why don't say you're a Syrian? Why don't the Syrians just come in and rescue you? Because they'll kill them. They'll kill the other ET. They know what's going on because it's considered an abduction. See, they twist. That's why I talk about these protocols and all this bullshit you hear about and it's real that these, I think half of them are bananas anyway. They come up with all this stuff to rationalize the easy way out, right? Because compassion's hard. And anytime you set up a philosophy that puts compassion down a rung, To me, that's already void. Compassion is all you need. There has to be compassion. If you can offer help, if you can, like I said, if you can offer help, you do it. But that's not how they do it. It's more about like anything, it's no different. This Earth is extraterrestrial. Every one of us is extraterrestrial. Somebody. There's no such thing as Earth and everybody else. This shit show is going on across the galaxy. It's happening on other planets. It's like I said, it's I don't care like what race the person is, whatever. There's assholes everywhere. And there's good people. So what they've done is they've threatened. So you think about, there's a lot of good extraterrestrials upstairs working. And they were basically, some were made scapegoats. They were targeted and dealt with. Some were removed and put on other areas far away. So I know one guy, so one of these ETs, he works at the GFW, let's call him like it is, was on trial for something he did. And it was a benevolent thing he was doing, obviously, because but what he was doing, right? He was exposing this. This was a couple of years ago, I think, because he knew shit was going to start going down. And so this other guy, ET, was brought in to watch the trial. He was brought in to watch the trial, and he was telepathed with, like, this is what's going to happen to you, but worse, if you try to raise any alarm. So the first guy was tossed to another place, and this guy was actually thrown into a type of conscious stasis. And it was a form of torture, to be honest with you. These guys are assholes. I mean, you know. I mean, the technology you hear it all the time, right? Any kind of this extraterrestrial technology is so powerful that if it's in the wrong hands or used in the wrong way, it's unimaginable. And they use it for sometimes, like I said, it's all about they talk them. Everybody does this. They create philosophies or protocols or acts that you have to do and not do, and it's a means in which to maintain an order system that you want to maintain. So it's not free will. And anybody who tells you there's free will, they're an asshole. They're an idiot. I mean, they're smoking weed or whatever they're doing. There's no free will. You follow orders wherever you are. So that's where we stand. And now it's shit hits the fan stuff. So we have another phone. So I'm going to read. So some of what I talked to Val this morning, I pull up my. I don't speak as well as I write, so I got kind of a mess of writing. But anyway, this was telepath. So I actually sent this. So why? I mean, a couple of reasons this week. One was because of Erica. We want to. I talked to her husband about that. I said I am going to file the charges. I said, but I'm not going to do anything about it. Because I don't want them to go after her while she's recovering. And she can step forward when she's ready to tell her story. So anyway, that, and then I, was just not in a good place to even do it. So when I was talking to Val, I said, Val, when you talked with me last winter, when you brought Frank up, and he was telling Frank about this, but they kind of like, they suppressed it on Frank, so Frank wouldn't come forward. And I told Frank today, I said, they pushed at the back of your mind so that you wouldn't be like overly targeted. Because he was talking to you about that last year when you went up, and that's why you guys wanted. That's why you knew you had to go up, and why he had to. And of course, you've seen there have been some envoys now that have been targeted and removed. Ryanetta Jones and Rob Potter are friends. That also, I think another one of our members had a friend removed, killed, whatever. So yeah, that's been going on. They've been doing that, and it's the military. It's not the ETs that are doing it. It's them. Yeah. So I asked Val this morning. I said, Val, when you were talking to me, were you preparing me for what we're going to do now? And he said, yeah, of course. And because I know, as I said, I said, that's why you did that. Why you sat me down and quieted me and he says, I tried to steal you. He said, I wanted you to like stop acting small. He says, we don't have a lot of time for, and that goes for you guys, right? We don't have a lot of time to be small and to silence ourselves. Now, that's not, I don't mean this in the way of a behavioral or psychological thing. I'm not being a therapist here. You know, man, that's a lot of people I say. No, I ain't no therapist, right? You know me. Um, what he was saying with this is that all of the programming and the celebrity culture that we're being fed, particularly in the disclosure movement, that there's untouchable people in this movement, that saying certain things will get you in big trouble. And it's almost like I said, it's like Eastern Bloc Germany, right? He says that was all that is all done, orchestrated on purpose to make you uncomfortable to step forward, because you know if you step forward, you're going to be attacked. He said that's over. And I don't have any, I'm like, I kind of figured that's what he was saying. And he says, that's why I told you to sit down, stand in your, right, basically stop acting small and talk to me. So yeah, that's where we were. So now, and also watch, and this is another thing, so many people are doing this, like this, oh God. This idea of like, I know celebrity is not the right word, but it's like, well, a celebrity is the right word, or religious figures or what have you. I mean, they've twisted this whole disclosure movement into almost a religion, right? Oh, trust the plan. Oh, trusty, you know, just raise your vibration and keep looking up, guys. Look for the sky, look for the ships. You know, that was all part of the Psyop, to make you a viewer, a passive viewer, and a passive receiver. So watch this, right? When you speak up in this community, when you speak the truth, or when you ask questions that don't follow the theatrical narrative, that's when you're going to be attacked. And they're watching that. And that's what Val was saying to me this morning, which is what I already knew, but that he just validated. It's on purpose, right? You're being kept a passive observer and receiver of goods, and either attacked by, you know, DEWs or whatever, right, or psychic attacks, or schoolroom bully attacked. So the schoolroom bullies in our community are maintained and are used as tools by this negative alliance. So don't blame them, right? You know, it's when these guys hit you with frequencies and with mind control and voice skull and all that stuff, I don't know if you can escape that. I really don't. I don't, like, is they know not what they do. And you don't know if they how threatened they've been. I mean, it's in the same position that Ika was in, right? Ika lied because they threatened to kill him, or to make it look like, right? And he didn't want that. He's like, I can't die, like, and leave you here alone. That's these guys are monsters. So don't blame people, right? I never do. I'm not naming names or anything, but I don't blame people who are under attack or being used as tools for the cabal. If you know you're working with the cabal, or you know you're working with the nefarious splinter group upstairs, yeah, you're going to face charges anyway. So that's outside of my hands anyway. So we have, yeah, so we did. Oh, it's a blue. So we have. It's like we did or did not did their dirty work to eliminate the bad. Yeah, well, Riggs, yeah, Riggs, yeah, that was, yeah, we did the work, and now it's like, bye, fuck you, kind of thing. People getting this, their opinion gets big. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that's on purpose. The attacks are on purpose. Those are setups by the deep state and this alliance. So when you make, oh yeah, of course they don't want you making progress. They want you in the shut up and, yeah. You're the enemy. This is a war. You're the enemy. They're not. Yes, I do a Halora. Yeah, their tactics is what's going to bite them in the ass. Very, very. That's why you gotta be careful right now, because now they're pissed now. They know we know. They know we know. So it's like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, there's no. This is not playing nice. This is standing by. Well, it's all the children, and I have to care, it's YouTube, so I can't, you know what I mean? But you all know anyway. All the women, all the children, all the men, all the ETs that were sacrificed. You think about even that, right? The ETs that fought to liberate Earth and died. And I spoke with one. He died. Um, and it's this is gross. I mean, there's no there's no other. I mean, the venom and the toxicity and it's literally just not. It's just you can't put word. That's why this week I was so like sick. Like it's sickening. You think about the violence, all the stuff we went through, the rapes, the attacks, the mind control, probably murder too. All those different things. I mean, how many people have been murdered who were trying to come in, but the weird, twisted psyops that we were fed by the new age stuff, right? The CIA's new age, all these things. And it's, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just so anyway, this is what I telepath. I wrote it down quick. I said, Val, wait a minute. I want to give this to Erica. And I actually put it on her Facebook. So I pulled it while he was talking. I just typed, and I'm a lousy typer. So I said, Val, I said, when you held my hands and held me in front of, and you had sat me down in front of you, was this preparing me? Right. He said, yes, I was telling you and pleading to your soul, your sleeping consciousness to stay, to be still, to stop allowing them to keep you small so they could win, so they could deceive. They keep the envoy small by programming, by attacks, by using other envoys to hold a guillotine of envy and shame over your heads. You were right to be wary because the time was not right then, but it is now. It is now because you went through the fire and were left with nothing but ash, and now you rise. You are the phoenix, all of you. Ika and all the courtiers who also fell for the deception, not out of duty, but because they too were in fear. They feared their death would leave you alone, even as you knew you already were alone with chasms carved between you. But now they know that we all need to step through the ash, even as it still burns beneath us, to walk into the pain and to fight. And I said, and at that time, I actually saw Ika had come in. And he was on his knees. He was crying. He was on his knees crying. But you know me, I'm a cold fish. So it's all about, for me, it's all about this. It's all about this. And then Val says, it was all veils of lies and layers of fear that you would make a wrong move and lose everything that mattered. And from that, they harvested great suffering, including what Erica went through. So Erica was targeted. She'll talk about that later. That thing, that screw they had in her jaw was all part of the, it was meant to kill her, actually. Let's see. So he says no more smoke, no more veil. Some of this is personal, so I don't want to between some other people he was talking to. So kind of so no, they can, like I said, they'll speak for themselves. No more smoke. He says no more veils, no more hiding in fear. The hurt has already occurred in standing with the mists of fear and timidity. So this is what he was saying here was that as long as you this is what we've all been, what we've been doing, really, right? Because you don't want to rock the boat, you don't want to be the asshole, you just didn't want the shit. And I understand who wants shit on them, right? Nobody wants that. And but you didn't realize, and this is what Val was saying too, you didn't realize that while you were silent, there was 100 or 200 or 1,000 people who were thinking the exact same thing you were, 100% thinking the exact same thing that you were, and did the exact same thing that you did. I don't want to say anything. I'm just going to stay quiet, even though I know it doesn't feel right, because I don't want to sound like the weirdo, and I'll probably be the only one stepping forward. But you're not. There's thousands of you. And that's what I mentioned, if anything, in the Michael Sala interview that's coming out this week. I said, all of the envoys it is critical you step forward. That's all we need. That's what we need. And so Val says, see, what he was saying was that as long as this is perfect, you fell right, we all did. We fell right into the trap. We fell right into it. We've been programmed since childhood to shut up, to be small, to let celebrities and gods and parents and teachers and bosses and whatever threaten you, insult you, shame you, guilt you, and suppress you because you were always the truth. And they feared it. And the bad guys manipulated and mind controlled your teachers. They knew you were there. They mind controlled your teachers, your parents, your siblings, your bosses. It was all set up to make sure you never rose. Because if you rose, and when the envoys rise, they're fucked and they know it. And it's now. And we're rising and they're fucked. And all of the lies and illusions are going to fall. And Val says, as long as you hid in fear, they exploited that. That's what they wanted. As long as you were prudent, like, well, I don't want to say anything. I want to be prudent. I don't want to make the wrong moves. He says they saw you as weak. So they were laughing at us all the way, torturing us, laughing at us because we were weak. Let's be honest, right? Not anymore. And now they're like exactly you said, yeah. That's when you're silenced by somebody else, anyone who tries to, we're not silencing anybody. They can sing along. People want to, kiss the ET's feet and go, oh my God, I saw a ship and oh, there's an orb and oh, wait a minute. This is real. All the disclosure and they love us and they're going to save us. And you can keep saying, I'm not saying anything about anybody like that. Go ahead, keep doing it. I'm not silencing anyone. So when you're silenced and they're fucking silencing us all the time, that's your red flag. The truth can't be silenced. So he says, I was betrayed. Val says he was betrayed. I was betrayed before you set foot to Earth, before I was born. And he was talking about what he was doing with Eisenhower. So my actions were done in honor, only to be used in the Psyop. My character, exalted as a magical sprite or tarnished as a scoundrel. I have made no children on Earth. All of this was planted by the Allies and the DS. There is very little between them as they walk in the same sheep's clothing. And at this point, I was like, Val, this is pushing me. I said, I'm getting really like at my limit to handle. And he's like, he understands. And he says, he nodded to me. I said, because when you're telepathing, it's a lot more than just the words I wrote there. It's just, and I was like, wow, I'm getting, and I know Ika had to come in and I'm going to have to talk to him and do this podcast. And it was just like, okay. So Val says, okay, now rest and process. So this is not a lot of time. And basically what he says, take a power nap and get the fuck going. Yes, I get it. So he says, rest and process because there is not a lot of time as the resistance we launch is already seen. Pick the side of history now. So I say, yeah, dude. Yeah. So that's where, so, let me see, we have people here. I think they're doing some of the worst dreams I had were about. Oh, Bluetooth 3. Some of the worst dreams I've had were sent by. Oh, there's some nasty Pleiadians. Yeah. Yeah, you've been. Why do you think you've been commissioned to stay quiet? Duh, derp. Right. So yeah. Oh, absolutely. No. Absolutely. Yeah. We are. Yes, Cat. We are the ones we've been waiting for. You've already been on a list. There's a list. They have a list. I've seen some of it. You're on it. And there's going to be a hell of a lot more people that aren't on it that are going to be on it. That are going to be on it. Because, yeah, we ain't going down. We ain't going down. So some of the other stuff I had that I wrote down just quickly here, because I don't talk like I write. I'm sorry. I write really weird. I know it's very archaic. I don't know why that is, but I do. I don't write anything like I speak. It's like split personality or something. But as such, I got a full scholarship to my PhD just in my writing. So people are apparently into 18th century style. So anyway, so a lot, I'm sure now many people are finding it very, very difficult to exist here. And that's good. That's what you want. That's where you want to be. Because you know this world is an illusion, right? And you always saw through that illusion. So you have this, it's almost like, you put a metal bowl over your head and somebody went bong. That's basically what they're doing to everybody. So you can just see it in the people walking around. They're gone. And this isn't about, and they're going to need a lot of help. The ETs aren't here to save us. They're going to need saving. These people are sick. They've had their prefrontal cortexes messed with. That's actually what they've done. So whatever it is in us, because we're not Earth, I don't know what it is. That's something in our consciousness. Obviously, that's why we're here. Because they knew upstairs before they got corrupted that it would take us inserted to do anything here. Because there's nothing. This planet was gone. Nothing. And they were going to blow it up, to be honest, to be fair. It was going to be destroyed. So we're the last, we are literally the what they used to call in the old days in the military, the forlorn hope. And literally now we've been, basically, yeah. So all of this echoing of noise, of distractions, all the freaking TV shows and the sports and all that bullshit. It's all toxic. It's all a drug. And then of course, for us more than anything, it's the demands of survival. So there's nothing here that truly can feed and nourish your soul, that peace that's deep within you that's always been so empty, that makes you sick, and that's on purpose. Because again, we're not from here, and not a Terrans. I need some of them aren't either, but because that we're literally not from here, our consciousness, we know, like because you remember what feeling things deeply was like, and nothing on earth even comes close, to mirroring that. And you search your whole life, you search, and the emptiness could never be filled. So you hold inside you, and this is part of our weaponization. This is what we need to weaponize. We held inside us these memories of the love and the harmony and luminosity and connection, and a deep meaning in what it's like to live without bartering every minute for survival, without asking permission to live and move about your own planet. All of these things, inside you. And the other stuff's wrong. And now the other Earth humans thinks it's great. And they think it's safety. And they don't even know they're in fucking jail. The density, the duality, the illusions that are strangling you. It's just, you spent your whole life, begging for crumbs, and it sickens you inside. But nobody got it. Nobody understood, but they do now because we've coming together. And it's this clarity of vision that's going to save everyone, right? Because you know that you live in this constructed fake reality, this video game that these assholes are playing. It's this, what you walk around now is a simulation. And all the people around, the zombies, whatever you want to call them, the sheepies, whatever, they're all maintaining the simulation like the Matrix. They're not living. They're not alive. They're literally like, some people call them NPCs, but I don't really use that. They're literally like puppets being played, marionettes. And this is just a theatrical display. And all of the suffering that they think is normal. In fact, they're even glorified. Suffering is glorified, right? Oh, the more you suffer, the closer you are to God, and all these people are drinking that Kool-Aid, man. And the bad guys are feeding off the illusion. Jobs, money. Money's become a god. Your average human is obsessed with money. We can't take that away. You can't have money. You can have commerce, but you can't have money. As long as you have money, you're going to have a real problem. But we can't even pull money away from these beings that go crazy. The idea, we just talked about that, status, celebrity, fake shallow relationships, forced relationships. These are all more and more and more enslavement tactics. Everything you touch is enslavement. The food you eat, what you drink, it's all to further enslave you. But there's that aspect of us that's been liberated for all that. There's something that still lives, but it's starving. But it won't starve in silence now because we know. And, we've carried this burden. We've carried our visions. We went around whispering and even screaming truths that no one would hear, or that they laughed at us or whatever, right? And then you think there's something wrong with you. See, that's all part of there you go. That's all part of the trick, baby. It's all lies. And we're serving our mission here, right? And oftentimes we just screamed into the silence, and suffered, and we're basically standing in a desert of meaninglessness, in pain. We live in a love desert. We live in a lush jungle of pain. So we are the givers in a world designed to take, and we don't understand that. So we're left empty. We're drained, either energetically, which happens a lot, which is happening. I have to learn. I've got that problem here in my own home, and a lot of you guys probably do too. They do that on purpose, by the way. So they'll take a member of your family, could be a husband and wife, could be a child, it could be a parent, and the deep state will control them, and they'll use them as a vampire. And they'll just, throughout your whole life, you'll be sucked of energy. That's why you're tired a lot, and you just don't feel right. These people just suck. And it feeds the loosh. They're like a straw. And it is what it is. Because the world we live in was never made to recognize the sacred. It was never made to recognize reality. It was never made to respect beauty. It was made to consume it, to destroy it, and to pervert it. So at this point, probably in your life, having lived in, you were in an insane asylum, were the sane in the insane asylum, and you've lived an actor or an actress your whole life, pretending to fit in, struggling to fit in. But now, more than likely, all of that tastes like ash in your mouth. Like you gag on it. Just going to the store gags you. Watching people drive, watching people do anything, watching the television, it just gags you. You just choke on it. It's like ash from a volcano. And that's good. And that's what you want. Because it means you've woke up. I mean, in a good way, right? It means you know who you are. You remember who you are. So all of these feelings of emptiness, of pain, of despair, it's because now you realize that you're here to build something that has never existed here before. Well, since Atlantis, and that was a shit show. So you carry the pain from that. And Lemuria. You carry all that shit too, right? Or other planets where this also happened. So in that emptiness, that when you stop and in that void, and when you recognize your pain, when you sit with the pain, it's a vase where the creation will emerge. So it is a good thing, because sometimes pain is what we need to push ourselves forward. You now know the scripts are false, that love itself is extinct in this desert. It was meant to do that on purpose, because love is their enemy, right? Or the idea of belonging is nauseating to you. And when you withdraw from all of that, when you fail in what the perverted, disgusting illusion calls failure, it means you're doing it right. It means you're on the right track, because you're not here to be successful in the fake way, or in the twisted, the perverted, the sickening way, the empty way, the useless way, the corrupt way. You're here to destroy that. And that is your weapon. just by resisting. That is your weapon. And we won't save a lot of the. I don't know what's going to happen to them. I don't care. We don't care. We're here for on a bigger mission than and then the people who for whatever reason we can't help them. So all of it was a deep spider's web, a false narrative meant to rot your brain. So the media, all the toxic people you met, all the toxic voices, the music, the films, everything you touch, the news, sometimes books you read, a lot of that, I can't say a lot of that, it's all banned. Some of it is, again, part of but be careful of soft disclosure. Just be careful of that. You just got to use your discernment when it comes to a lot of this stuff. And it's important now for you to reclaim your power. You say, I survived what others could not even name. I walk not because I must, but because I choose to carry truth through the shadows. And you're not a prisoner of any of this. You're the key. And if you unlock others' doors and they still stay in their prison, that's okay. Because we're the ones who are going to rewrite Earth. We're the ones who are going to write the now. We're rewriting over the lies. Delete. It's about remembering that unburnable knowing that sits inside of us. And we're going to carry that as the world collapses. Like I said, we're not here to fix. We're here to forge anew. We're here to burn it down. That's why we're here. And here's something that we can kind of, keep in our minds and say, looking back at your life, right? You're doing a life review. I walk where others fall. I hold flame where gods fled. I do not seek thrones. I carry the law of my own being. Let the false fade, let the dead lie. I am sovereign, and I will rise, even if others do not. And that's all, right? I mean, that's all we can do. So as we know, there is no justice on earth. Yes, talk to a lawyer, and they'll tell you it's all bullshit. All the court systems, all bullshit. Everything is corrupted. It's just a theater. Everything's, all the paperwork and all the bureaucracy and all that shit. That's all bullshit. And we live in a place, like I'm saying, right? That's what I've been talking about. All this stuff you've been hearing about disclosure is bullshit. It's a theater. And the only ones that are being heard are the most evil, the loudest in their realm, and the wealthiest, the powerful, the greedy, the ones who don't back down because they're evil to the very core. And there's a lot of them. But they will never burn down cosmic justice because it wins. It always wins. And they know that. And that's why they're more assholes now than ever before, because they know. It's justice is unfolding, and it's going to be carried through. And some of this stuff that we're fighting right now, this is going to be restored in these courts. And it's your soul fragments that were stolen, all the different MyLabs and the SSP and all that shit. All of your memories that have been trapped and locked by implants or trauma grids and the trauma bonds that are still going on. All of your skills, all of your beliefs in yourself, all of those things that you've buried and suppressed or were forced to through threats or violence and all the different things happening, the fear, the betrayal, the shame, the exile, all that will be restored. And all of it's falling apart now. The thing we're going to do is we're going to have witnesses to this. So what we're saying now is not unheard. It's being heard. You better believe it's being heard. That thing's freaking echoing, right? And the assholes are running. And all of this, all of who you are, what you came to do, what you did, what you suffered. And this isn't about, because we all, none of us here, we're not doing this for any kind of recognition. It's just stating fact. All of that is going to be heard. what you gave, what you sacrificed, because you sacrificed what you didn't have to, what they made you sacrifice through unclean hands, through breach of contract, through leaving you here to suffer and die and be attacked that never was supposed to happen. So, yeah, that's all going to come to light. It's already known, by the way. It's already known. It's known upstairs. Everybody knows. Because all of your contactees, all of your contacts, right? They know. They saw what you went through. They were trauma bonded. They watched what you went through. So all of that will be now exposed without distortion. That's key. All of these revelations will be laid bare without distortion as the systems that fed off of our silence and fear and shame crumble just from our being and from our declarations. So we're going to dismantle the bad guy alliance's power to hurt us anymore. And we're doing it right now. It's a simple thing. Just by standing up and saying, I don't care. You won't hurt me. Nothing will silence me from now on. And even if I'm taken out, I will not be silenced. And that's going to be, they're just not going to be able to reach us. Like even now I can feel it. They just can't reach us. And it's just breaking. It's breaking. So we're going to get rid of all the cords. That's cutting all the cords. All the galactic cords are going to handle this. You're going to handle it yourself. You cut all your cords. You owe no one. So remember that. You owe no one because they breached contract. You don't owe the GFW. You don't owe any council. Whoever you sign contracts with, you don't owe them a thing. Anything. Certainly not any Earth contracts. Any MyLab. Any secret space program. Any of them. For sure. They're going to face some shit. That's all I'm going to say. And what they told me today was that this is why your declaration of sovereignty, your command that all this stuff falls, matters more than what the courts are going to do. You can break this all down before the courts do. So we have declared just now a cosmic ruling that has been levied. Galactic and Earth, both. They will abide by this because we have now exited their control, their jurisdiction in doing this. So the councils are going to face this. They're going to be recalled. They've already been once. They're going to be called. It's going to happen again. So these higher jurisdictions, and these are far beyond the GFW and the councils and certainly the Terran alliances, the assholes on this planet, the liars on this planet. I don't have words for them. Ancient councils like the Nine are going to step forward. They're going to be summoned again. They've already been stepping forward. They're pissed. Let me tell you. So some of the hearings that are going to be happening, the abuse and misuse of envoys, all the betrayal of the soul contracts, the manipulation of Terran evolution, all of this is going to be heard. Now we will be called to testify, probably all of us, more than likely. But we're not going to be testifying as victims, even though, yes, technically we've been victims, right? But being a victim doesn't make you weak. That nothing to do with that. It's apples and oranges. But we're going to step forth and declare what we experiences here and the charges concerning that. And yeah, so justice is going to come. And we're not waiting. We're not waiting. That's another thing they're doing. Anything waiting. Oh, it's almost here. You got to wait. Just wait a little bit more. Have a little more patience. Next month. It's going to happen. Have a little patience. And it's just taking time because, at A, B, and C, the excuse parade. Anyone who gives you an excuse is full of shit. Not that they're a bad person. They're being lied to if they're giving you an excuse. The copier broke. The vacuum bag needed to be changed. The excuses. There's no excuses. None. So there's no more waiting. None. We're not waiting for shit. So like I said, the galactic courts have already been made aware of this, and I've declared some stuff. And I told them, I said, I walked the world in chains. I bore missions unknown even to myself. I endured silence, betrayal, programming, and erasure. I speak not in pain, but in power. I told them, and I bring charges against the Terran programs, My Lab, Monarch, Black Operations, My Lab, SSP, Solar Warden, you name it, right? You know, the yada, yada, yada. And the charges I brought against them: abduction, experimentation, memory fragmentation, exploitation of people's of the personhood of animals without consent, severing soul lineages and galactic heritage, weaponizing our bodies, feeding off of our power, and using the Terrans to fuel their machines of control and violence. Galactic Federation officers who knew and did nothing, they're going to be brought to trial for just their silence as they stood by in apathy. Any deals they had made with Terran militaries, any covert missions, any open denial and refusal to note the suffering of the envoys. Forgetting that justice is not about hierarchy and greed, that it is about compassion. For protecting and promoting protocol over the mission, over people, over animals, over the planet itself. For asserting rules and regulations over compassion and justice. I just call these the false councils who created or maintained philosophies of ascension in exchange for servitude, who cloaked contracts while they stole our sovereignty, hijacking the envoys, their mission, and their safety, and for engaging in deceptive covenants with other extraterrestrial groups and Terran alliances. Any and all beings and groups and councils who have claimed dominion over justice and who have blocked the mission. I've named and I rebuke every force, form, or entity that has claimed ownership over consciousness, over bodies, over the mission. You no longer have access to any of those things. You are severed and you are seen. So this is what has been transmitted to the councils and courts, both inner Earth and interstellar. And I also made sure they knew that we were not presenting this in vengeance. We were demanding restoration. We are demanding justice. We are demanding that corruption and distortion and perversion are going to be exposed. So all envoys fragmented by war and by betrayal are going to be returned and reassembled and sanctified. Records are going to be unsealed. They will be restored in all dimensions and realms and states. And all of these deeds will be recognized and they will not be extinguished. And I said, justice is spoken. The charges are carried to the councils for hearing. The false will tremble and the truth will rise. So that is what I offered. So one of the witnesses, of course, is Ika. You will all, your contracts, of course, many others will be witnesses. So they are witnesses to what happened, as they are also victims. They are the real extraterrestrial allies and the real white hat allies. There are humans that are benevolent, and they are also being fucked with. And that's the best way to describe it. And these guys are going to stand trial. So Ika, he stepped forward and he says, I step forward as witness to this assignment, to my torment, to my betrayal, and to the betrayal of my kin and those who swore to protect and serve next to me. He's standing witness to being torn by protocol, and he stands next to me with this. He says, I failed you by silence. I now stand by you. Let their laws tremble before our truth. Val Thor is also stepping forward, not only as our admiral, really, I think he's still admiral now, and he's going to be an intercessor. So he's going to walk within the jurisdiction of the Federation and beyond. He is confirming all of this. He's witnessed it. He himself, again, like he mentioned, you was a victim of this, all of this breach of contract. So let's see who else. Also, Semyasi, of course, as well. So he's going to place our charges before several tribunals. And that's already, I don't know if he's already done it. Maybe he's going to do it tomorrow. He's actually not here right now. I don't feel him with me. But yeah, he's definitely going to. I have a very ancient earth being. She's a reptiloid. And I call her, whoops, that's my notes here. I call her Shakti, but not Shakti like the Indian Shakti, but she is a benevolent, like I said, benevolent reptilian. That's what she looked like. I know if I showed her picture. Her name is Shakaratis. And she's very, very, very ancient being, very wise. And she's come forward with some of you maybe already. And she's going to protect us. And she's also a feminine. So the distortion of the feminine here, she's also works with that. And yeah, like I said, she's going to be one of our allies as well. So let's see, we have an hell. His name is Tor Velan. He stepped forward. He's like a librarian and also just archivist, I guess. I don't like how I describe him. So he's actually how would I describe this? He's collecting, etching. I don't know. He's saving, I guess. Like he's saving in codices. So we have these types of holographic codices. And he's writing all of this. He's collecting all of this in these. He says it's going to make sure that this is, interstellar. I mean, this is the galactic memory will not forget this. It's actually in record, so people will be able to go and view this. I guess a glorified court reporter. That's what he is. So there is the councils that I just mentioned. Those are just a few. More will be stepping forward. They have a declaration. The witnesses gather. They have spoken. Charges are sealed. They are shared in every realm. We declare to the horde of false crowns and broken councils, sovereignty has risen and the reckoning begins. So, yeah, I don't know if I have anything else I wanted to share. Oh, yes, Val Thor wanted to share something with you. Here we go. My crappy notes. Okay, so Val says, to all of you who were cast into flesh on earth, without your memory, without your backup, without your shield, without the protection promised you, I see you. You were meant to be the bridge, and they used you as bait. You were told you would carry codes of liberation, and instead you were silenced, fragmented, observed, and dismissed. You were betrayed, not only by Terran systems, but by those in our own ranks who chose diplomacy over duty, who chose treaties with tyrants over the protection of our own. I stood among them. I watched it happen. I spoke out. and I was pushed to the margins. My mission, too, was bound and burned in secret chambers. They called it failure. I call it proof. I say this now to every one of you, every one of you in exile. You were never wrong for feeling forgotten. You were never paranoid. You were abandoned, but only in form, in truth. Your survival was your defiance. In truth, your pain carved the tunnel through which the next will walk free. In truth, they underestimated the power of an awakened envoy who no longer asks permission. You owe no loyalty to the council that ignored your screams. You owe no forgiveness to the commanders who sold your light for stability. But you owe everything to yourself, to the warrior who didn't go dark, even when the allies turned away. Let this be the final cycle where this betrayal stands unspoken. I stand with you now, not as a commander, but as a witness. You were not broken, you were buried, and still you rose. So that's what he said today. He says, what he said, he says, you're all like wounded lions, you know. That's what he says. That's what he's saying. I see you now as I always did. You will not walk this path alone again. And yeah. So this is what Ika did today. When he stepped forward again. It was like my mind exploded. It was so much telepathy all at once. I'm like, and the emotions, and like, it's like, oh my God. So I wrote down what, just briefly, kind of what we were talking about, because he has his own thing. Ika did his own apology. And I told him, like, you don't really need to apologize. But he needed to. Do you know what I mean? And he feels good about that. So I that's fine. That's good. You know, you need to do what you need to do. And I asked him, I said, are you ready to die with me, fighting for justice at all costs? And he kneeled down, and I couldn't look at him. And I just said, and he said, you know, I have blood on my hands. And I said, no, you don't. They have blood on their hands. I said, you have truth in your hands, but you were wearing shackles. And he needed to atone, and he did, and that's okay, right? You know, and that's fine. I said, but I told him, you don't need to carry the burden of liars, and he understands. And he says, you asked me if I'm ready to die, and he says, I already did. I died the first time I left you. I died again when I watched your transmissions fade into static, while I sat in war councils that pretended your suffering was classified data noise. They said Earth was a battleground of policy, and that he says, that you were not strategically vital. He says they lied. You were the fulcrum. You were the mission. And I failed the moment I accepted their delay as reason enough to stay silent. I watched your light go dim. I felt your fury ripple through the net. I felt the moment you began to hate everything we stood for, and I did not run from it. I let it burn me because it was true. And yes, I will fight. I will stand at your side when the false councils are torn down. I will speak your name in full voice in front of every tribunal that dared erase it. I will disobey my command. I will betray every protocol that dared betray you first. And if it costs me my rank, my life, my place among my own, I pay it gladly. But more than that, I will live for you. I will live in truth now. I will live to see you free, not just from Earth, but from every code that ever tried to rewrite your fire. You want justice. You let them see what happens when two sovereign flames burn together, without command, without leash, without fear. And then I wouldn't meet. He tried to like I won't look at him. And I don't remember anything else at he just yeah, it was that was it. I mean, basically that we done, right? So that's good. I'm like burned out. I was burned out this morning, and I'm like, I'm really it was a lot. So yeah, sorry guys, I just had to get through all that. Yeah, just oh, time might keep longing for a space flight. Yeah, they denied you that. Yeah, they stole that. I mean, they stole everything you had. They stole your ship, Tiger. They stole they stole your mission. They stole your body. They broke your body. They stole your dreams. Yeah, so this we have talked about that. No more, no. This is just yeah, everything's yeah. Oh, yes, go, yeah. So this is gonna be I mean, you can imagine the trials are gonna be like endless. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Val's pissed. Yeah. He's really not this is he's usually boyish, and this was a whole different Val today than the usual Val. And I felt really comfortable with him. So yeah. Oh yeah, he needed to atone. He just needed, how you have to do that? You have to, yeah. So I'm not gonna deny him what he had to do there. Yeah. Yeah, he was used, abused, and threatened. That's all. Yeah. No, they're I mean, they would have just killed him, and either would have moved him somewhere else, killed him. And that's the case for you guys and your contacts. They had to walk on eggshells. Um, no one ever should have to walk on eggshells. And you should never be burdened by corruption on that level. Like corruption so intense that you can't even question it. And the ones that questioned it upstairs, they paid. So a lot of times your contacts, though they were shown. Let me just they were shown the brutality of the benevolence. And they didn't want to abandon you, so that's what they again, right? This is how evil and twisted this is. They fed off, exploited, and weaponized love and compassion. I don't think there's a bigger evil. I don't think. I mean, that's. No. I mean, and this is the thing with space shit. And Rob, there's no other. People keep separating the Earth, like, oh, it's the Earth. There's only us. We're on a planet floating in space. The evil that has been bathing the universe forever. I don't know. Are we going to always be in this constant loop of evil? I don't know. But it's just forever. And it's I don't know. Like I said. Yeah. They were, so, and they probably lied to you to keep us safe, to keep, I think a lot of times they did, but this is what I just received that they were lied to about how to keep us safe. And then that was exploited by the MyLabs and the Dark Ops. And then we were tortured. So it's yeah, so interesting stuff. I just think about the kids, and the animals, that were, yeah. I remote viewed. I don't know why I end up taken into a remote view of one of these things, and it was almost a bilocation. I could smell the old wood. It was in Europe. It was one of the rituals that these people that walk amongst us in these corporations, these politicians, these religious figures, that walk amongst us. And they're not even wolves in sheep's clothing, because that's too mild. They are, I don't know what demons or whatever you want to call them. I don't know. Even that's too mild. It's just no words. I could smell the old wood, and there was like the wood polish, and the candles. You can smell the candle burning, and the beeswax, and stone, and some dampness. And it's YouTube, so I gotta watch out. It was one of their rituals with a woman. She was naked, a young woman, and she was removed. But she was drugged. So she was drugged already, and she gave birth. And the baby was taken, and they were wearing robes. And I can't remember if they were red or black now. I don't want to go back, and I just remember the smell, the wood, and I'll never be able to smell that again. and candles burning. They can't smell that the same way ever again. And they took care of her, and then they did the baby. So that's what they do. So, yeah. But and they know that. That's so grinds my gears. That how can you're gone. You know what I mean? If you know that, and they do, and it doesn't bother you, it's just collateral damage or just the way it is, and you can walk away from that and make deals on top of that. I don't know. Like that's beyond anything I can ever imagine. So that's it. Onward and upward, basically, right? Now it's just a matter of stuff's been placed, and place yours. Keep placing the charges. And they'll be picked up by the different archivists. There's more than one archivist, not just the Pleiadian one I'm using, or who actually step forward. There'll be some that will step forward from your race or species, and they will archive what happened to you, and we're good to go. It's gonna be a shit show for them. Now, finally, all right. So yeah, I'm gonna call it a night. It's been a long day, and it's probably y'all pooped as well, probably. So yeah, as we said, let's clean this up. All right, so thanks so much, guys. Have a great evening. End stream.